Hi guys, I am here today to share our Bible story for this week with you. This story is a story that Jesus himself told in Luke chapter 15, and it's a story about a father and two sons that he had. So I want you to listen to this story, and then I've got some questions and a coloring sheet that you can download and you can sit around the table with your family when you go have dinner tonight, hopefully, and discuss the questions together as a family and maybe color and make a craft with the coloring sheet at the end. But today, I just want to tell you this story. It is one of my favorite stories. Once there was a man who had two sons. His older son was a hard worker and would often be found out in the fields morning to night and working for his father and helping to make sure that the crops were brought in, that the cattle and the sheep were all fed. He really was a hard worker and loved to do things for his family. But the younger son was a bit of a dreamer. He always wanted to travel the world to see new places and to meet new people and have an adventure. So one day, the younger son came to his father and said, "Father, I think I'd like you to go ahead and give me my portion of my inheritance so that I can go and travel the world." So the father thought for a minute, and the father said, "Okay." And so he divided up all that he had between his two sons, and he gave them each their inheritance for the future. The older son stayed home with his family and took care of his mother and father and took care of all of the sheep and all of the livestock and all of the crops, while the older son took his portion and went on a grand adventure. He traveled the world and he met new people and he enjoyed all that he could with his father's money until one day he discovered that he had spent all of his money. He was unwise and he didn't save some of it for the future. He just spent it all. And when he realized this, he went and tried to find a job so that he could have enough money even for food. And the only job he could find was to work out in a field feeding pigs. And as he worked all day in the hot sun out in the field, he thought, I would love to just have the slop that these pigs are eating because I'm so hungry. But even the servants in my father's house, they have more than enough to eat because my father cares for them so well. And after thinking about it, he said, I bet my father's really mad at me for running away and taking all of this money and spending it on all these things. But I'm going to go back to my father and I'm going to ask him to forgive me. And I'm going to ask him if he would at least let me be a hired servant in his house so that I can have food to eat, so that I can have the things that I need to live on. Well, he started heading back, and the father was waiting on the porch and was looking out every day. The father spent all day looking out for his youngest son to come home because he missed him so much. Well, when he saw him way down at the end of the road, the father ran off the porch and ran to him and hugged him and said, my son who was lost is now back home and he's safe." And he took his ring off his finger and his robe and he put it around his son and he brought his son back to the house. And when he brought his son back to the house, he told his servants, he said, "Go find the best meat and the best of everything. We're going to have a huge party because my son who had left is now back with me and I am so happy to have him back." And the son was confused. He said, "Father, I did everything wrong. I took all your money and I wasted it away on things that don't really matter. And you are taking me back as your son?" And the father said, "Of course I am. I love you. I have missed you and I have done nothing but wait for you to return since you left." Well, at the party, the oldest son came to the father and he pulled the father aside and he was angry. He said to his father, "Father, I've been with you this whole time. I've taken care of everything for you. And when did you ever throw a party for me?" And the father said to him, "Son, you've been here the whole time. You could have asked any point in time, and I would have given you anything that your heart desired. I would have thrown a party for you, but you never asked. Instead, you worked and you worked and you worked, but you never asked for the good things that I could offer you." So the oldest son wasn't very happy, but the youngest son was happy to be home. So I want to share with you some questions that you can ask, and this will be able to print. You'll be able to print this with the questions, and you can share them around your dining room table at dinner tonight. So the first question is, what did the father see? Did you see what the father saw? What do you think the father saw? Maybe he saw that he loved both of his sons. I don't know what you saw, but you talk about it with your family tonight. What about the younger brother and the older brother? What do you think they saw and understood in the story? What did you feel when you heard the story? Did you feel compassion for the younger son? Did you feel sad for the father when he missed his son that left? Did you feel angry like the older brother? What were your feelings when you heard it? Who shows compassion in the story, and who receives compassion in the story? Now, I want you to imagine some things as you listen to the story again, too, and as you talk about it around the table. Imagine that you are the older brother. Do you think that the older brother ever came to the party? If you were the older brother, would you have come to the party? Who would you have sat with if you did? Do you think he would have sat at the table with his dad and his brother? Or do you think he would have sat maybe with some of his brother's friends? Or maybe he would have just sulked off in the corner with the servants? I don't know. Where would you have sat if you were the brother? Who sits with you at the dinner table? And what do you talk about there? And how do you welcome each other when someone's had a hard day or doesn't want to sit at the table? So these are some thoughts to think about as you listen to the story and as you talk about it with your family. I hope you enjoy it. There'll be a coloring sheet for you to color and a craft for you to put together later in the week. I hope you enjoy this Bible story. Thank you guys for listening. I look forward to sharing more with you as the weeks progress. Bye.